Alright folks, let's set the scene. The movie starts with our main character, Dong-Cheol, and his friend, Choon-sik, who work together at a fish delivery service. Dong-Cheol used to have a gangster background, but he left that life behind after marrying his wife and opted for more ordinary jobs. One day, they hear a commotion nearby because a merchant failed to pay the required maintenance fee to their boss, Kang. Choon-sik quietly reminds Dong-Cheol that they haven't received their paychecks from the boss yet. As Kang and his men pass by, both Dong-Cheol and Choon-sik lower their heads respectfully. Shortly after, Dong-Cheol's phone rings, and he and Choon-sik hurry to meet the caller. It becomes evident that Dong-Cheol often gets involved in dubious ventures, and this time, he's considering investing in king crabs. After inspecting some samples and contemplating for a bit, he ultimately decides to take the risk, investing the 100 million won he borrowed from the bank. Meanwhile, Dong-Cheol's wife, Ji-soo, holds 2 jobs to make ends meet. As they head home, Dong-Cheol brings up the idea of investing in king crabs, but Ji-soo becomes furious because she knows that his previous investments have often been scams, leading them into debt. At another location, a gang of criminals led by a man named Ki-Tae attempts to break into an apartment. Once inside, they viciously assault a debtor and are on the verge of killing him when the debtor's daughter arrives. Ki-Tae is captivated by the girl's beauty, and instead of killing the debtor, he decides to take the girl as a ransom for the debt. While on the way, Ki-Tae's car accidentally collides with Dong-Cheol's car. Dong-Cheol steps out to assess the damage and suggests that Ki-Tae's driver, Do-sik, should report the incident to the police. However, as they have the captive girl with them, Do-sik tries to resolve the matter quickly by offering money to Dong-Cheol. Ji-soo notices this and intervenes, scolding Do-sik and instructing her husband to call the police. Intrigued by Ji-soo's appearance, Ki-Tae steps out of the car, starts berating his driver, and apologizes to Dong-Cheol. Feeling uneasy about the situation, the couple quickly leaves the scene. The next day, Dong-Cheol goes to Kang to collect his paycheck, but he receives much less than expected. Despite pleading for more, Kang dismisses him, leaving Dong-Cheol frustrated. He meets up with Choon-sik, and together, they discover that the king crab shipment is stuck at a Chinese port. Realizing they might have been deceived again, they worry about how Ji-soo will react when she finds out about the situation. In the evening, Dong-Cheol takes Ji-soo out for a birthday dinner. While talking, Ji-soo suggests a fake divorce to keep their apartment, but Dong-Cheol gets upset and refuses the idea. He confesses about his king crab investment, and upon hearing the amount, Ji-soo becomes enraged and starts yelling at him. Dong-Cheol manages to calm her down and leaves to fetch the birthday cake, but when he returns, Ji-soo has already left. While Dong-Cheol remains at the restaurant, Ji-soo takes a cab home feeling upset. However, she decides to text him, expressing her trust in his decisions. Upon receiving her reassuring message, Dong-Cheol is relieved and quickly heads home to be with her. Later, Dong-Cheol's car comes to a halt on the road as Lim Gyu, who is actually Ki-Tae's henchman, transfers items to another vehicle, intentionally delaying Dong-Cheol's journey home. Unaware of this, Ji-soo is abducted at home by one of Ki-Tae's henchmen. After returning home, Dong-Cheol is unable to locate his wife, and their apartment is in disarray. Panicking, he rushes to the police station to report the situation. However, the police inform him that the CCTV cameras in the apartment building were intentionally disabled before the abduction took place. Afterward, as Dong-Cheol leaves the police station, he receives a phone call from Ki-Tae, who makes him listen to Ji-soo's pleading voice. Ki-Tae then says he's put a business card on the fridge and invites Dong-Cheol to meet him at a restaurant. When Dong-Cheol arrives at the restaurant, Ki-Tae calls him again and requests that he open the bag in front of him. The bag turns out to be full of money, and Ki-Tae tells them that this is Ji-soo's price and that she will not be returning home now. Frustrated, Dong-Cheol presents the money to the cops as evidence. Despite the police investigation, they dismiss Ji-soo's case as an instance of human trafficking, not taking it seriously enough. Dong-Cheol becomes aware of the police's lack of concern. Disturbingly, he learns that many other women in the city have faced similar abductions, and tragically, none of them have been found alive. Feeling compelled to take matters into his own hands, Dong-Cheol contacts his friend Choon-sik to set up a meeting with a private detective named Bear. However, Choon-sik reveals that Bear requires a large sum of money they can't afford. With the money they gave to the police as evidence, Dong-Cheol decides to confront Kang once more and demand his wages from him. As expected, Kang refuses to pay the full amount and berates Dong-Cheol. In response, Dong-Cheol fights back against Kang's men, leaving him terrified by Dong-Cheol's strength, and he ends up paying all the dues. Later, Dong-Cheol and Choon-sik approach the private detective, Bear, seeking his assistance. However, Bear deems their payment insufficient. To sweeten the deal, Choon-sik privately promises Bear 5% of the profits from their king crab investment. After reviewing the CCTV footage, Bear manages to find the license plate number of the person who left Dong-Cheol's money bag. They trace the car's owner and confront him. During the interrogation, they discover that he sold his car license number to a bookie due to his gambling addiction at the bookie's establishment. Subsequently, the trio heads to the shady location where the man sold his license plate. At the location, they meet an official who offers number plates for vehicles or drugs. When she realizes they want information on her client, she assumes they are cops and commands her men to attack them. Nevertheless, Dong-Cheol takes on each attacker individually, overpowering them and compelling the woman to finally provide the information they need. Later in the evening, Dong-Cheol visits a nightclub based on the outdated business card given by the bookie. Unfortunately, the nightclub now has a new owner. As he parks his car, he notices a van leaving the venue with a man and several women inside. The man happens to be Lim Gyu, the same person who caused the delay for Dong-Cheol earlier. Dong-Cheol confronts Lim Gyu and asks him to step out of the van, but Lim Gyu eventually finds a way to escape from the scene. Later on, Dong-Cheol is informed by the police that they have found a body. Anxious and scared, he hurries to the station to identify the corpse. Luckily, the deceased woman is not Ji-soo. The next day, Bear looks into the deceased woman's case and discovers that she had been missing for 2 years. The peculiar aspect is that she was in a comatose state before the abduction, and her husband had once confessed to the police for reasons yet unknown. In the subsequent scene, the trio meets with the husband of the woman whose body was found. He reveals that his wife had been in a coma 2 years ago, and he had been taking care of her and providing for her during that time. They even went on a TV show to seek funds for her treatment. One day, Ki-Tae found the husband and offered him a substantial amount of money in exchange for his comatose wife, whom he claimed was like a living corpse. Despite feeling remorseful, the husband accepted the money and gave up his wife. Before Dong-Cheol departs, the man shares some information he has gathered about the individuals involved in the situation. After their conversation, as Dong-Cheol and his friends get into the car, they hear a loud disturbance and find out that the man they spoke to has tragically committed suicide by falling from the top of a building. While examining the information the man provided, Dong-Cheol notices a familiar face and recognizes the business card of a guy named Do-sik, who was involved in the car collision a few days ago. Dong-Cheol meets with Do-sik, but Do-sik doesn't recognize him. Dong-Cheol takes Do-sik from his office to Bear's office for interrogation. Despite enduring merciless torture for hours, Do-sik remains adamant and refuses to reveal any information. Shortly after, Ki-Tae video calls them, threatening to harm Ji-soo unless Dong-Cheol kills Do-sik. Fearing for his wife's safety, Dong-Cheol appears to strangle Do-sik until he falls unconscious. Ki-Tae demands repayment of the money if Dong-Cheol wants Ji-soo back. However, it becomes clear that Dong-Cheol was only pretending, pinching Do-sik's artery to make him faint. Dong-Cheol then slaps Do-sik forcefully, causing him to instantly regain consciousness. Following the incident, Do-sik divulges that they are loan sharks who resort to kidnapping borrowers or their loved ones if they fail to repay their debts. Shockingly, they even abduct women solely based on their appearance. These kidnapped women are then sold into prostitution in foreign countries for significant sums of money. Ki-Tae is a depraved individual who firmly believes that money can acquire anything, and unfortunately, it often does. Nevertheless, Dong-Cheol is the first person to stand firm and refuse to give in. Despite his resistance, Do-sik asserts that he doesn't have the exact location of the hostages' captivity, only knowing the province where they are held. Armed with this newfound information, Dong-Cheol and his companions decide to retrieve the money from the police. Upon reaching the police station, Bae and Choon-sik pretend to be prosecutors from the central office in Seoul and request the money bag for additional examination. While the officer agrees to lend them the bag, he insists on notifying the lead detective. Despite their objections, the constable contacts the detective, who reveals that the incident hasn't been reported to the prosecution. Realizing that their cover is compromised, Dong-Cheol takes action and detonates the car of one of the police detectives as a diversion. Utilizing the distraction, they successfully escape with the money. In the subsequent scene, Ki-Tae and his gang are seen keeping several abducted women captive. Ki-Tae becomes furious with Lim-gyu and brutally beats him with a bat for mistreating one of the women. Shortly after, Ki-Tae receives word from Dong-Cheol about the successful retrieval of the money. In response, he invites Dong-Cheol to his hideout for the exchange. However, once the call ends, Ki-Tae instructs his men to kill Dong-Cheol once they recover the money from him. Later on, Ji-soo notices some peculiarities about the window, discovering it has been recently renovated. Along with another woman, they remove the cover and attempt to loosen the door bar. Eventually, they manage to create a small opening through which Ji-soo escapes. However, as the young girl is about to follow, one of the kidnappers stops her. Ji-soo keeps running while Ki-Tae starts searching for her. She reaches the main road and urgently asks a passing man for a ride, pleading to be taken to the nearest police station. After some time, the car gets stuck in traffic just outside the police station. Despite this, Ji-soo gets out of the cab and resumes running. She nearly reaches the entrance when Ki-Tae's car blocks her path, and he grabs hold of her. The next day, Dong-Cheol and his companions manage to reach the location where the women are held captive. Dong-Cheol charges into the building, forcefully taking down anyone who tries to stop him as he pushes forward, determined to reach the top. As Dong-Cheol makes his way through the building, the other girls are being prepared by the abductors to be moved to a different location. Lim-gyu, who is in a room, hears a commotion outside and goes to check, only to be confronted and beaten by Dong-Cheol. Simultaneously, Bae and Choon-sik free the kidnapped women, and shortly thereafter, the police arrive and apprehend the kidnappers. Dong-Cheol starts searching for his wife, convinced that she escaped through the window. While on his way, Dong-Cheol encounters Ki-Tae's car, which is carrying Ji-soo. Upon spotting him, Ki-Tae instructs the driver to accelerate. Dong-Cheol follows the car, trying to stop it, until a collision occurs, sending his car tumbling down a hill. Ki-Tae grabs an axe and goes to attack Dong-Cheol, smashing the windshield, but Dong-Cheol has vanished. Shortly after, Dong-Cheol confronts Ki-Tae and physically assaults him, delivering a series of punches. Eventually, Dong-Cheol forces Ki-Tae out of the car. Ki-Tae tries to manipulate the situation, pretending to apologize and even making threats of suicide. Nonetheless, Dong-Cheol doesn't let Ki-Tae's act deter him and continues to pummel him. Eventually, Ki-Tae loses consciousness. Dong-Cheol quickly goes to his wife, wakes her up, and they embrace in relief. As the police arrive, Ki-Tae and his entire gang are arrested, and Dong-Cheol's heroic actions become the headline of the news. In the meantime, the king crab shipment finally reaches Korea. Fortunately, this turns out to be an incredibly lucrative investment for Dong-Cheol, resulting in him becoming wealthy. The movie ends with Ji-soo and Dong-Cheol joyfully celebrating her birthday at their newly opened restaurant, enjoying a delicious meal of king crab together. So, that's it. Be sure to comment with your thoughts below. If the video feels good, then like this video. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified of our latest videos. Thank you for watching this video and have a nice day.